Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out, this might be tough to answer, but why are Brits so funny? Why are Brits so funny? Today we're taking a break from the YouTube and we're just going to Reddit, right? Anthropologically, why do you think British culture values humor so much? Obviously, there are tons of famous British comedians and comedy writers, but even many of the British co-workers have a uniquely acerbic, dry sense of humor. Did you feel growing up that humor was valued, positively reinforced? Do you generally agree with the stereotype of Brits as being witty? Let's see what they say. The Brythonic, Celtic, Saxon, and Vikings all had bardic traditions. In short, we've been chatting S-word for thousands of years with periodic influx of new materials. I don't know what the word bardic means. Bardic primarily refers to anything related to or characteristic of a bard. Okay. Specifically, a Celtic poet, singer, or storyteller. Oh, okay. Oh, bard, like Shakespeare. Right. Okay. I just realized I have these headphones on, and I don't need them. I'm just listening to my own voice. Am I about to take my headphones off for the first time on YouTube? Here we go. This is strange. Okay. So, to add to that, our climate is miserable, and if you don't laugh, you'll cry, so there you go. That actually makes a lot of sense. It's a survival technique, right? Self-deprecation is far more relatable than self-aggrandizement. Absolutely. Totally. And with our fairly rigid class system, we resent anyone who acts above their station. Yeah. I mean, I do personally too, I think. This makes people who poke fun at themselves far more likable, so we're conditioned to use humor in social settings. Yeah, makes sense. I think in America that's not as appreciated. I've said it on this channel before, but sometimes here when you try to be self-deprecating, people think you're just depressed, and they don't realize you're joking, and they try to soothe you. GummyBear853 says, I like self-deprecating humor, but I'm not very good at it. That's my favorite comment so far. Brilliant. This is why a lot of Brits don't respect Americans. Whenever I hear someone from the US, they're usually talking about how amazing they are or telling a story that no one asked for. Same. Oh wait, I do that. Anyway, moving on. Lika_86 says, I blame the weather. Like the other person, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it. If we weren't, I guess he's talking, and Justice is talking about if they weren't self-deprecating. If we weren't, then we'd have no other option to be miserable about our lack of sunlight, weather, or create new extreme heavy metal genres like Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Heavy metal does come from those cold countries, doesn't it? Oh, that's interesting. Lloyd Cole says, for me, it's the completely lack of earnestness or sincerity amongst British people. A lack of earnestness or sincerity? I have limited exposure to British people, but I've not noticed that. I can vividly remember being at the Eiffel Tower. To my left, there was an American finally. What? Okay. I think Lloyd Cole is American. He says, to my left there was an American finally, and the dad said, incredibly sincerely said, oh wow, that is absolutely beautiful, stunning. To my right there was a British family, and the dad said, oof, that is a very big tower indeed. Top marks, Monsieur Eiffel. Huh. They both in effect meant the exact same thing, but the British dad couldn't even compliment a world landmark without underplaying it as if Eiffel did well on a year 6 maths test. Okay. Extend this lack of sincerity to every single sentence you say, and you become incredibly well practiced at joking. In fact, I suppose the very definition of joking is a lack of sincerity. No need to take life too seriously. Yeah. The British have this understatement thing that I've learned. And that is so funny. The understatements, I feel like that's a genre of humor in itself. As an aside, I've noticed some Americans online seem confused when British people say they don't understand sarcasm. Of course, Americans can understand the level of sarcasm of just brutally saying the opposite of what you mean, but I think Americans struggle with understanding British statements that are cloaked in a dozen layers of irony and unseriousness. Yeah, okay. I was downvoted heavily by a thread of Americans earlier today who couldn't fathom that light-hearted ribbing about water bottles isn't the same thing as genuine malice. As to why this level of unseriousness exists, I have absolutely no idea. I know what he means, yeah. Some Americans feel like any contrarian comment is just that there's no subtlety in it. I will say, though, that sarcasm does not always work in a written form. Like on a text message or on a Reddit comment, you don't always get the subtleties. A lot of that comes from how you say it, right? Oh, I also learned from a Girl Gone London video that socially American English is a low context communication style, while in Britain, it's a high-context communication style. Ooh, Upbeat Ice 1921 says, yeah, but the Eiffel Tower is basically a poor man's Blackpool Tower. British humor here. Yeah. Princess Sienna says, I feel like there's a divide. Half of us are funny as F-word and don't take anything seriously, and the other just take everything far too seriously. Ilks says, and the former find the latter hilarious, a.k.a. Hyacinth Bucket. Hyacinth Bucket. What is Hyacinth Bucket? Show me on the internet. Bucket. Oh. I recognize her. Oh, it's a person. The Bucket Woman. Oh. That's her character. I wonder if there are any YouTube videos I can play with her. I'm gonna try to have this on YouTube.
How do you spell bouquet?
B-U-C-K-E-T. B-U-C-K-E-T.
Oh, bucket.
It's bouquet.
Oh,
I'm afraid you won't be aware.
That's her name.
Very much, Mrs. Bucket. Bouquet.
It's very kind of you to invite us, Mrs. Bucket.
It's bouquet, Vicar.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I see. Great joke. Udrala says, I think some of it, particularly the dryness, is related to our class system and historical emphasis on politeness and deference. Being mean to your betters while still being notionally polite could be very cathartic. Being self-deprecating and not making a fuss is also a stereotypical British value, and our humor is definitely heavily influenced by that. It's an American. I'm an American dude married to a working-class northerner from Lincolnshire. She is, without doubt, the funniest person I've ever met. She says it's a class thing. I wish we had it, because the working class in the USA have zero sense of humor. I disagree with that. I forgot my password 126 says, yes, exactly, and people were more limited in what they could say, so they had to be indirect and selective with their word choice. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I've not heard that yet. In America, people are proud to have freedom of speech and be able to say whatever the hell they want. I'm not saying the British don't have freedom of speech, but I think Americans are super proud of it. They go on to say, self-deprecating humor is politeness too, trying to get your peers to like you and appearing humble/modest, so it all fits. Yeah, self-deprecating humor is politeness. Okay, that's a big part of it too. It's really impolite to make jokes at other people's expense, isn't it? Makes sense. Farlow75 says, we've been effed over by the Normans, the Romans, the Vikings, the French, the Yanks kicked us out, the Germans bombed us to F. The Spanish messed us about, the Russians are always having a go, the rich Brits take everything off the poor Brits keep each other down, the NHS is effed, our industry's dying, taxes go up like inflation, all our energy is imported, our flagship car manufacturers are all foreign owned, and we S at all our national sports and it rains all the time. Gotta laugh, haven't you? I love this person. Huh. Wow. A teared up a little bit just then. Witness Was Field says, we just struggle to talk about our real feelings most of the time. Instead, a piss take is as far as we go with mates. A good mate will notice if there's a real problem by the quality of your banter. Also, some serious verbal abuse is the best way to know you're accepted. Silence and niceties should be treated with suspicion. Oh, yeah. Plus, this country has been led by clowns for so long, we all feel part of the circus. That's funny. You know, I remember being a little kid, and when someone would make a joke about me, I'd get, like, offended, like, you know? But there was some point, I think maybe in, like, 8th grade or 9th grade, making that transition over to understanding that they do it because they like you. But I guess there's more of that in Britain. Your second paragraph is spot on, really. Being funny is basically the best thing you can be in the UK. It is a highly valued and cherished ability. Stephen Fry kind of nailed this years ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard Stephen Fry's take on the whole British humor thing, and it does seem spot on. He takes it back to religion and the class system. Very, very interesting. I reacted to it. Check it out. If there's... Maybe there's link. I don't know. Hey! Shh. That was my dog, y'all. I got a puppy. For crate training, he's a Dachshund Chihuahua mix. So, he's got a little of that yappiness in him inherently. He's in his crate, he just turned his back to me. That's fine. However you want to cope, but don't bark. Right? He's actually really sweet and gentle. He's chewing his bone. Okay, on. Zisarian says, it doesn't value it as much as it creates conditions where comedy occurs, like how anyone can run for parliament, causing the prime minister to stand next to a man wearing a bin as a helmet as he finds out if he has a job or not. That's so true. I love how the Brits do elections, y'all. They have, Rishi Sunak standing next to bin head. The serious contenders are right next to the unserious ones, but that's the way it is. If they filled out the paperwork, they're all equal. Unicorns and Rainbows says, as we have been associated with stiff upper lip, I think suppressing how you feel needs to be expressed somehow, and one of the easiest and most healthy ways is with humor. Yeah, it's what soldiers do in combat situations to prevent becoming miserable. Yeah, there's a fine line between laughter and crying, and actually I often cry when I laugh very hard. Yeah, good point. When specifically Brits getting the rep for being so stoic, I can only assume it's from times when we had an empire and needed to appear anything but weak. Comfortable Bug says, I think it's great that we can just completely take the piss out of ourselves, and that's because our parents, family, and siblings did it, in an endearing way, haha. Yeah, gosh, I feel like in America, everyone now is a victim. Humor is a minefield here. That it keeps people from taking chances. And Astra of Caerbanog, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Putting the headphones back on.
Caerbanog.
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 Caerbanog. Caerbanog.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced Caerbanog. Astra of Caerbanog. An old colleague was passing a citizen's test, and there was a whole section on the origins of British humor. Really? Being self-deprecating and sarcastic has been a part of the humor for thousands of years, since the days where court jesters would essentially take the piss out of people. There's a sense of cultural unseriousness and an ability to laugh at ourselves, which has been heavily passed down. I grew up in a home environment where being witty was heavily praised, and I have a naturally good humor, laughing easily at myself, other people's jokes, and I'm pretty quick-witted and make people laugh a lot. I'm actually a very serious person who's worked in very serious environments and have a strong sense of values. But I think my sense of humor and playfulness helps me manage that. It's something most staff in environments like mental health care seem to hold. So long as you're not making fun at the expense of others in a nasty way, for example, hiding bigotry behind humor, I can laugh at pretty much anything. Yeah. Guybrush Funkwood says, I think it's because from an early age, we really respect how funny farting is. Moving Target 2112 says, to you the basis of an entire culture. Oh, the next unicorn along says some of it is the flexibility of the language. Much British humor is wordplay. I've noticed that before, a lot of puns. And that is much easier when everything has multiple words to describe it and sentence structure is flexible. We have incorporated a lot of cultures and words, Germans, Latin, Greek, Indian, etc. My bungalow has a television. My bungalow has a television? I don't get it. I remember the joke campaign for Anglo-Saxon English, the ones King Arthur drove out, saying impermeability of matter should be the unget-throughableness of stuff. Try that in German. Flexible our sentence structure is. The structure of our sentence is flexible. Our sentence structure is flexible and still means the same. True. Our other language is not that flexible. The only other language I really have any experience with is Spanish. I don't know if it's that flexible. I didn't get into it that deep. Well, y'all, this goes on forever and ever and ever. These were great, but I think we're going to end it there today. Right, Gregory? He's sleeping. Well, I'd like to say thanks to my patrons. I'd like to say thanks to my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.